If you watched our last video, we talked about how these problems, although they look new, are really the same problem we've done in the past. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with this one. Remember, start with the inside here. So I'm asked to find the angle whose cosine would get me a ratio of negative square root of 5 over 3. So to help me figure out what's going on, I'm going to start with a picture. I'm going to start with a right triangle. Now, since the cosine is negative, I need to figure out what quadrant to draw my triangle. And recall, when we're working with inverse cosine, we're only allowed to pick from these top two quadrants. The one quadrant between those two where cosine is negative is this one over here, the second quadrant. So I'm going to draw my right triangle in quadrant number 2. And there's my right angle, and then theta's down here by my reference angle between the angle and the x-axis. So recall that cosine is really just the ratio of the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So they're really just giving me two sides of this right triangle. Well, your hypotenuse side is always going to be positive, so that's got to be the 3. My adjacent side then must be negative, so the negative square root of 5 would go down here. I also know that side has to be negative because, look, it's going to the left. Just like if I was plotting a coordinate, that would be negative. Okay? So I've got two of my sides figured out like we did last time. I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem to find this third side. I'm just going to call it A again, although you can call it whatever you want to call it. Using Pythagorean theorem then to find that third side, a squared plus negative square root of 5 squared. Remember, always use parentheses. It's especially important with those negative numbers. When you square a negative number, it will come up positive because you're multiplying it by itself. A lot of people forget that and have a negative value right there. So a squared plus, well, negative square root of 5 times negative square root of 5 is just positive 5. And then equals to 9. This one actually works out really nice then, since a squared would be equal to 4 when I subtract, and then a must be 2. So that missing side is going to be a 2. Once all the sides of the triangle are figured out, it's actually a really easy problem to finish. I can find any ratio they ask me to find. This time, now I'm working out here, they're asking me to find the cotangent of this angle. So now that the triangle is drawn, like I said, that's easy. It's just a matter of setting up my ratio. Usually I would find the tangent first and just flip it. I'll try to kind of do this in my head. I know that tangent is opposite over adjacent. So cotangent must be the adjacent over the opposite side then. I guess I'll just work it out like that. My adjacent side then, we already knew that was this bottom side down here, negative square root of 5. The opposite side is the side we just found, 2. And then I would just look to see if I can simplify that. There's no square in the bottom, there's no simplifying that I can do. So there is my cotangent ratio, negative square root of 5 over 2.